Everyone says just build a portfolio like it's easy, but no one tells you how hard it is to sit down, write about your work, especially when you're still grieving a job you've lost. Hey everyone, I'm Dre Jankowski with the Reboot Era, and today we're going to talk a little bit about resilience and building a portfolio. One thing I wanted to start out with is it's day 14. Rejection's hard, as we know. Networking is great, as we know. But there is a sweet part, a bittersweet pill that you get with being laid off. And that is the fact that you do have more time on your hands. So I have been having amazing conversations with friends, random strangers on the internet, family members, and even some of my most recent coworkers. And I wanted to share a little bit about how those conversations have been going and the things we've been talking about. With some of my most recent coworkers, we're really just being a support network. And that's, if you get laid off, those are going to probably be your biggest supporters because they 100% get what you're going through. With one of them in particular, we've actually been brainstorming a lot of really cool ideas, and we've come up with like mini projects that we're going to start doing. And I'm going to start getting her in the loop on some of this stuff. So, more to come on that. Nothing to share right now, but just if you watch this video, keep in the back of your head as you follow this journey of like, I said this here today, and in the future you can call it and be like, hey, you said you were going to do something, and here's the something. I've met with people who have started businesses. I've met with authors of books. I actually have this really cool book, The Layoff Cooties. It's them, not you. That was sent to me by the author who I saw on LinkedIn, Laura Cross. I hope I'm saying that correct. I'm really excited. It came in the mail today, so I'm going to give that a read. It's 160 pages ish, so I'm hoping to finish that in a day or two. And I've been speaking with family members. I've caught up with a lot of family to hear about what they're doing. They've moved houses, they've had kids. Like, it's been great to just keep in contact now that I have more time. And then friends, just hearing about breakups and hearing about makeups and hearing about kids that they're having and life and how it goes. And I'm happy for all of them and everything that they're doing. Remember to keep in touch with your people during your layoff because you're never going to have time like this typically ever again. And I think it goes to the point of what I was hoping to speak about before we get into what I have for you today as for resources. I want to talk about resilience and how it is such a powerful mindset to really have for someone who's essentially rebuilding their career. The job search, it's not just apply to one job and get a job. It is all about constantly applying over and over again. And I heard this quote. I've been trying to have a daily affirmation. I have some sticky notes at the bottom of my computer you can't see, but the quote that I have for you today is, you may have to fight a battle more than once to win it. And that's by Margaret Thatcher. And I thought, this is perfect for the situation I'm in. It's officially day 14. It's 2 weeks after my layoff. Rebuilding your career, it's full of multiple rejections, par for the course, rewriting your resume over and over, questioning your self-worth after having silence from so many recruiters, and then having to essentially prove yourself again, even after you're already qualified, you've done the job above the job that you're probably applying for. And then on top of all of that, you're asked to essentially create a portfolio. You're asked to do these things that just make you stand out as a candidate compared to others. So creating a portfolio can be really important, especially when you meet with a recruiter, you finally get on the phone with someone and you can say, hey, look at all this work that I've done. Look at this document I've put together. And creating one, especially when you're emotionally drained, it's choosing to fight the battle again, but smarter and with more self-awareness. Again, you may have to fight a battle more than once to win it. That's the quote. I think it hits pretty hard. And it's just what it feels like. So anyone who's not going through it, I wouldn't have had sympathy. I don't want to say that. I sympathize for people who were laid off in the past, but I also would scroll past the things that I would read on LinkedIn, mainly because the stories were sad, also because I thought it would never happen to me. Now that I'm in the thick of it, it's interesting to see the support you get is great from the people who get it. And then there's so many people who like don't understand or at least don't want to pay attention to the fact that the system is broken and that it could be, should be, needs to be 1 million times better than it currently is. But there are people who are working on that. So I guess let's let the experts do what the experts do best. If you're in the middle of your own reboot era right now and you're trying to start a portfolio, even if it's messy, even if you feel like you don't have enough, even if it's private, that's what I have for you today. So we're going to talk about a portfolio starter kit that I have worked to create, and I feel like I'm finally ready to share with the world. So let me share my screen. Go ahead and get this started. All right, so in the reboot era folder, we have a new resource for you today. And this is going to be the portfolio starter kit. When you come here and open this, there's going to be two documents. One's going to be the template, which I'll open. And then the other one is going to be the SOP, or the deep guide. I'm going to walk through the template first. I'm not going to explain everything about it, but I'm going to walk through the template real quick. And then we'll hop over into the SOP and kind of show you how you can use this. First and foremost, portfolios can be made and utilized in a lot of different ways. Some people will actually create their own website for a portfolio. Other people will, back in the day, they would actually have a binder or a folder full of all of the work that they've done that's relevant. And this ties very closely to preparing for interviews when it comes to the STARS method for behavioral questions and how you answer those. Having a case or having a portfolio can really help you be prepared when questions pop up or when you want to share scopes of work that you've done. This first section in the portfolio is a snapshot summary. So this is just going to give you, anybody who's reading this is essentially like a really quick excerpt from your resume, your current role, your years of experience, industries that you've worked in, top skills, career goals, and interests, and you can just list those out. In the About Me, it's great to always attach a picture, a headshot, ideally. And again, repeating your name, your current title or role, location of where you're located, and then a link to your LinkedIn or a website or contact information if you want to share that here. Writing 1 to 2 brief sentences as a bio. So this is going to be an overview of who you are, what you specialize in, and what drives you, and then listing out any core strengths or values you have. You can scroll down as you see this project case study template, which is essentially taking projects that you've worked on and really outlining them for people to understand, and by people and recruiters or hiring managers to get a feel for what exactly you've done. A portfolio can also be a really great tool that if you have this created, when someone reaches out to you and says, hey, I want to recommend you, a resume is one thing. It says ideally the small 1-sentence accomplishments that you've had at a former position, but a portfolio can actually give them more context to give that referral, to reach out to the hiring manager directly or the recruiter directly and say, hey, this person has worked on these exact projects that matches this job description. I'd love to refer them. I've submitted a referral in the system, but I also want to send you a message and speak to the things that they've done. So filling this out, you can essentially copy this section, project title, down to what did you learn? That entire section, just copy that and paste it. I would do 5 to 7 if you can, if you have that many projects. Tools and platforms, ideally, this is just a chart that you're going to outline. These are the different tools that you've used. Skills, same thing. What types of skills do you have? Project management, what's the proficiency? What exactly is the tool? And then related projects that may pertain to it above in that project section. Key wins, this is optional, but I do recommend it. Highlighting your top 2 to 3 accomplishments can be a great way to essentially show someone who's going to skim through this and read this, show them what you're most proud of. And if there's something on here being like, I improved team delivery velocity by 25% over 2 quarters, they're probably going to have in their head, like, bringing this person in, they're going to be passionate about doing this type of work. And this is the types of change we want to see. Testimonial and quotes. Now, these are typically on your LinkedIn. If anyone was a referral for you here, or you want to say, hey, get in touch with my network, this is someone who can essentially speak to the abilities of what I've done at previous companies. You can use them as a reference here. So you can include their name, any quotes that they've given you or said about you, about the work that you've done. And then you can also mention who they are, the date they gave that, and then the potential reference contact information, just like a name and a phone number or a name and an email. Makes it easy. And just a final note here. So this is just for whoever is reading this. This portfolio is meant to provide an overview of selected work while maintaining confidentiality and professionalism. Product details have been anonymized where needed. And if you're reviewing this as a recruiter or hiring manager, thank you for your time. If reviewing as a peer in transition, you've got this. So you can always share your portfolio with other people to be like, this is what I've created. When you are calling out key details, which will all be in the SOP, let's say you worked at a company, we'll say you worked at Meta and you worked on Oculus, which I believe is their VR goggles or something like that. If that was proprietary or you signed an NDA saying that you can't really talk about that, I would highly recommend being like change Meta to worked at a social networking tech company on a VR system, right? Don't name anything if you're not able to. So what you'll do is you'll take this template, you'll make a copy, you'll name it your own 2025, whatever your name is, portfolio starter, or just portfolio. This SOP, which will be great, I'll link this video and then I'll tell you the minute where you can start watching just for the SOP component. If you're just getting started and you're brand new to this, I've given you an overview of essentially how you can use this really quickly. The purpose of the document, this is a standard operating procedure, walking you through how to complete your portfolio starter kit confidently, early, and with respect for any past or current company NDAs. Whether you're job seeking, building a personal brand, or reflecting on your impact, this document is your step-by-step playbook. The snapshot and summary, this is just giving your recruiters a quick look and overview of your career. So keep it concise. Here's some tips that you can use and some examples. I also included a prompt for ChatGPT, like I do in most of the documents that I create for you. So help me summarize my experience in 5 bullet points for a job portfolio. I am a blank title with X years of experience in this industry. Attach your resume when you drop this in the ChatGPT, and I guarantee you're going to like the output. About me section, this is for you to write, but I love to use ChatGPT to essentially say, here's what I've written. Now write a short professional bio for someone who's in this role in this industry with strengths in these skills and then values like these core values. Keep it warm and confident. And again, they're going to be your hype man. Like ChatGPT will literally just hype you up and you're going to be like, wow, thank you for this. Project case study section. So this is going to be key guidelines. Never use the internal project names or direct screenshots. If you have attachments that you can utilize, include them in this section. I have created a prompt for ChatGPT where it's going to outline essentially like the problem, your approach, the results, the reflection, the job specific version, and the resume based version. So this one's a little bit more like ChatGPT isn't going to be able to make all of this for you. You're going to have to put it in, but the way it will give you an output will be really great for what you'll probably want to include in your project section. It's just going to be very fine-tuned writing. Always review it just to make sure, there's no errors. Tools and platforms used. It's great to show a technical range or familiarity across teams. So don't include tools that are confidential or internal only. Try to stick to publicly known ones. If you can't, if you're using something internal, I like to use like a synonymous platform or a synonymous tool. So there was one tool at Amazon that was very similar to Slack. Slack is public. I think almost everyone knows what Slack is. And you can call out the limitations that this internal Amazon tool had without saying what it is, if it's for some reason proprietary. There is a prompt, help me create a table of tools I've used with their purpose and how I applied them in past roles. Typically, you can attach your resume to this and it will grab those things for you and create that table. A skills matrix. This is going to help recruiters or clients see the range and depth in your skills. So again, just like high level skills and connecting them to your projects, exactly what they are. Here's a prompt, create a skills matrix with skill name, proficiency level, tools used, and related projects. My top skills are, you could list them out. Or again, you could try dropping them from your resume. If you don't have skills listed in your resume, you could always add a component to this prompt and just say, here's my resume that's attached. Please, read through it and highlight any skills you think would be relevant for this section. Key wins, using this section to highlight standout moments. Think awards, big launches, measurable wins, especially if you have someone who can speak to them in your testimonials. Like this is great stuff right here. I have a prompt that I've included as well. Testimonials, these are again going to be written already, probably from feedback on LinkedIn or reviews on LinkedIn. If not, you could always write a mock testimonial a manager might give If I'm a strong skill, trait, and impact area, keep it natural. If you don't have them yet, you could always reach out to your peers and either send them one and say, do you approve of this? Could I use this? Or here's what I was thinking. Could you write me one for these reasons? People are pretty open to saying yes, by the way, if you're like unemployed or just got laid off. Confidentiality and redaction rules. So here's just some rules to think about: replacing company and client names with roles. So Fortune 100 financial institution, cybersecurity unicorn, national retail chain, rather than specifically calling out the company if you don't need to, don't. Removing internal project names or acronyms, any team rosters, org charts, or internal reporting lines, screenshots, proprietary information. And then just focus largely on your contributions, summarizing your outcomes. And if you're using screenshots, just use a black box or blur anything out that's proprietary. There is a prompt if you want help writing up any portfolio case studies and removing to rewrite content that may be considered confidential. You can share that with ChatGPT, and it's usually pretty good about redacting that information. And then lastly, here's an overview of when and how to use your portfolio. So creating your portfolio is only half the journey. The other half is knowing when and how to share it. And here are some key ways to use your portfolio effectively. Job applications, including it as a link in your resume or your cover letter, can be helpful. There's also sometimes a section that says link to portfolio or link to website. You could link to this document, and if people click that, then they'll get this overview. Any interviews, if you leave the interviewer, you could always, if it's an in-person interview, you could always download this on the flash drive. Costs a couple of dollars for a flash drive, I believe, and give them to them. You could also follow up in an email, in that thank you email that you write to the recruiter and to each of the hiring managers as you go through the loop. Include let me reset that. Every single time you're going through any step of the job process, when you have an interview, you could include a link to the recruiter or to anybody you interviewed with that's going to send them directly to this portfolio that they can follow up with and see all of these things. LinkedIn, you could feature it on your LinkedIn section if you're not embarrassed about that. And if you want the world to see all the great work you've done, throw it on there as a link. Freelancing and contracting, when you're pitching to clients or you're on Upwork or anything, you could always add a link to your portfolio. And then networking and coffee chats. Bring it up. If someone asks about the work that you do in your career story, either in that moment, bring it up, or at the end when you send like a thank you to your coffee chats, send it, right? It's super easy. In Google Docs, just set your permissions to anyone with a link can view and then test it before sending it. I like to either send it to a friend or send it to my mom and then open it from their device so I can make sure that I can see it. I didn't use Notion or a website to create this, but it's usually like a public facing link and it's pretty easy. And then you could also use the short URL, but you shouldn't have to worry about that if you create it in Google Doc. That's pretty much what I have for you. There's a few more of the pro tips and final suggestions, but it's that easy. I know when you hear the words portfolio or creating a portfolio, it honestly sounds daunting. I personally was like, where do I begin? I haven't ever created a portfolio because I've never been laid off or unemployed. But I'm hoping that these tips, these tricks, these free contents that I'm giving, these templates that I'm giving are really helping people who are lost, who are crying, who don't know where to start, or even people who are seasoned layoff employees who are just like, I haven't updated mine in so long. Let me go and get this and use some of these helpful tools. If it is, I would love if you could subscribe to the channel. If it's not for you, totally understand. If you could send it to someone who can subscribe to the channel, that would also be great. It just helps me continue making this stuff for you guys while I'm also trying to navigate this process of being unemployed. But sharing is caring. I'm here. And then remember, you may have to fight a battle more than once to win it. So thanks for joining the Reboot Era, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow.